Just cozy though.
So are you on break? That's what made up tomorrow?
No, but I mean, we can take our vacation time. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in the office tomorrow and Thursday.
So when do you? Well, hi, honey.
Okay, we're on.
Hi.
Perfect. We'll go ahead and get started. We're going to call the meeting to order at 5:02. The first thing for us to do is to approve the agenda. The agenda tonight is just very straightforward. It's just we have public participation. We'll open it up for public participation, and then looking at the calendar is our only agenda item tonight. So any other changes or adjustments to that? Okay, so we need a motion to approve the agenda. So a motion from Denise.
In second.
Second from Nancy. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, so we will open up public participation. We
have two people who are on now
Perfect.
on Zoom. So if you are one of the attendees on Zoom, you can raise your hand or you can type something in the chat if you prefer. Or you,
Yep,
And Leslie's coming.
oh, she is, okay.
perfect. And just a reminder, if you are participating in the chat, just put your name and address at the beginning of your comments. So those can be read into the record, just like we would do for anyone here in person. And we don't have anyone here in person with us. We have one public, but
Yes.
they have 4 legs and a tail. So you may see a very furry head popping around.
Barbara the Hawks first.
Yeah. So if anyone, I'm gonna open public participation and I'll leave it open for about 2 minutes now. But please, if folks are joining us virtually, feel free to type into the chat.
Or raise your hand and I can have you speak as well.
Oh. I must have just missed each other. Yeah. Too bad nobody here likes dogs.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
She's an official hawk.
Yeah. So see, I fill the time while you're waiting for public comment. Perfect. I stand to me and give me treats and.
Oh, I like that. I think that. I'm doing bell rehearsal. There's a dog there too, and that was my coat. They're tiny little nuggets.
I don't see anything coming in. Do you have anything coming in?
I don't see anything in the chat or any hands raised at this time.
We'll go ahead and end public participation for now. And our only agenda item is to talk about the calendar. First, I want to just say a huge thank you to the board members who could come tonight and to Sydney and Brenda and Kristen for coming tonight. This was a very much last minute scheduled meeting. Last week we got some information, or we got from their meeting, that the Lebanon board had voted to not have school on January 2nd. January 2nd was previously a school day on the calendar that they had established, that we usually try to stick to pretty closely. And so we got some questions about it pretty much immediately from families who were wondering if Grantham was going to have school. We had a quorum of the board who was able to get together, thankfully, thank you, this week to discuss this. And so it's up to the board if we want to amend our calendar. We are able to leave it as is, just kind of some background and some consideration for this. Plainfield is still leaving.
They're having school on Monday,
They're
the
having-
second.
So Plainfield is leaving their calendar as scheduled, so having school on the second. Lebanon, so for our students, that would be the middle and high school students are not having school on the second. We can decide for Grantham Village School, some things to consider for it. That there is that, Plainfield is doing one thing, Lebanon is doing something else. We have, families, I think, who will be in two positions of either it's an extended vacation, and that's great. I think we will have some families who that's an additional day to find some kind of childcare. Childcare options may be more limited because we are coming off of a holiday weekend for folks. And then also just thinking about our calendar year, we're fine right now in terms of hours, but we're just at the beginning of our snow season. So what does that look like does this take a day off the calendar for us? That, we may need to make up in terms of snow days or other closures. So just some things to think about there. Anything else that you would add for considerations, Cindy?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Any thoughts or things that the board members have been thinking about for this?
I would just wonder if you've been contacted by some parents that either way, that would help us to, be informed as to the best decision we can make.
Just asking. So before Lebanon's board meeting, I had one parent reach out and question the calendar. And then since Lebanon's, just asking what we're doing. Nobody giving me any idea either way what they prefer.
Would that impact our custodial staff at all if there's a vacation day or a school day?
No, I mean, we could work their schedule around around whatever the board chooses to do. We can work the custodial schedule around that. I think it really is a matter of, does the board want to try to align with lab, or does the board want to, and the other side, as Brittany said, it's just the childcare issue that people have already planned. And especially it's a work day for a lot of families, and the consideration is different in terms of you have a middle or high schooler staying home versus a little one staying home.
I would also we have two board members with kids in school. Your input's really important for us to consider.
Even though I'd like to give the kids another vacation day, I think as I was thinking about it, I'm leaning more towards just keeping the schedule intact, almost exactly for why Sydney said. With as a family of two working parents, full-time working parents, we're lucky enough to be salaried, but not everybody is, and so that's a really big deal. Only 2 weeks from now, basically.
I definitely agree with that. I will say, just not in terms, no one has reached out to me in terms of the board, but just in terms of casual conversations with friends. I think there is I think people are expecting us to follow Leb. So I think it'll be more surprising for people if we don't. So I think people who are needing to make plans have already started looking. I don't know universally. I'm sure there will be some people that will be a struggle to find childcare for that day. But I think when people heard about Leb's decision, they started thinking about what are we going to do that day, because I think the assumption that I've heard is, so we're just going to be closed that day too, right? With the thought that for families, for the families who have kids at GVS and at the middle and high school, that is another weird family dynamic to set up. Of okay, the fourth grader has to go to school, but the eighth grader gets another vacation day.
Which really stinks.
Yeah. So we will have some families, if we stay with our schedule, we will have some families that have two different schedules. Yeah.
I'm always in support of another vacation day, but I feel like having this happen so fast and people having to adjust to it, it wasn't a planned vacation day. My gut feeling was to leave the schedule there, but as a former teacher, I would have said,
Give one more time.
I need a day off.
Yeah.
but I also think about the childcare. For a lot of people,
Well, I imagine a Lebanon board went through the same process as we did when we approved the calendar for the year. And actually, I was quite surprised that they changed it at this late date.
I think we all were.
So
Mhm.
I would say because it's so, the date is coming up so close, I think we should just, we approve the calendar and we should probably stick with what it is.
But I'm also flip flopping with kids being in two different schedules in the same family.
Mhm.
That's the piece that
Yeah.
is the most compelling for me in terms of changing is thinking about having, you know, a ninth grader who has an extra vacation day and a first grader who you have to tell has to go to school. And I wonder if some of those families would wind up keeping their GBS student home anyway. You know, if families would choose to extend that vacation, which maybe is something that families could, you know, make that choice on their own if we do decide to keep the calendar as is.
I mean, technically, it is a federal holiday. The second, right?
I almost wondered if there would be parents that have that Monday as a holiday.
I think some.
It's
yeah,
mixed.
It'll be mixed.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's just no universal decision that would make it good for everyone.
Mhm. No, absolutely, yeah.
I could go either way, but I have concerns both ways too. So I know we have to make a decision, so that really wasn't very assertive.
Feels like a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I actually haven't asked Kristen this. Have you heard anything from the staff about this at all?
Staff is another.
No, nothing.
No, it's
Just
just
wondering.
wondering,
what will
what are we
happen.
gonna do?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think from what I heard, people think that we're gonna follow Lebanon just because that's what we do. But no, I know that Deb Bailey was saying that it will mess up with the vegetables being delivered, so she might not be able to do salad bar and she might have to do pizza instead of, I don't know, there was something that the menu would have to change. But I think that's really the only,
So in the past, we've aligned with Lebanon schedule, but has there been a practice of like something like this happening where Lebanon canceled and then Grantham has had to? Yeah.
not that I know of.
Not in advance like that.
Not an adjustment like that. I mean, there's been days that we've called snow days and they haven't, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, because that like, the weather changes at Wellback.
Yeah.
But in terms of a change to the calendar, once the calendar is decided, a change ahead of time, I haven't seen that happen before.
A little bad not giving the kids an extra vacation day. It feels like mean. But you don't know logistically. Yeah,
Would that mean we'd have to put an extra day at the end of this school year?
no, we said.
Not necessarily, because we always go, well, the state goes by hours.
Yeah.
So we always look at our hours and then we see where we are based on what happens with snow days, et
Yeah.
cetera. As we get towards, I don't know, April, whenever snow days might stop.
Mhm.
Any other thoughts or
I was
considerations?
just wondering,
Yeah.
if anyone knew, I'm not sure it matters, but what was Lebanon's, line of thought with making this change? Does anyone know?
I did call Dr. Roberts and
Yes.
the day after it happened and just briefly spoke with her about why the change. I think she was surprised by the change as well. In terms of just some pressure about the federal holiday. She said that they did discuss that it was a federal holiday when they made the calendar last year. But that came up again. And that was pretty much it.
I think if I had to decide my feeling about like two working parents who aren't salaried or just parents who are in that kind of a bind. That's sort of, I think for me, like I hate to disadvantage people this close to that scheduling, like 2 weeks, right? Like
Mhm.
that seems like a burden, whereas families who have more flexibility and options, like you said, they can choose to keep their kids home. That, you know, families have choices, but I would hate to, like disadvantage.
Mhm.
And often those people, you know, have to schedule out a couple weeks or a month or I don't know, it just seems like a little capricious, even though, again, I have an elementary school age kid who would love to have an extra vacation day, but it feels like disadvantaging people that I don't want to.
So just from an administrative side, I've heard two of you say parents can keep their kids home if they want to. So normally, if they just choose to keep their kids home, it's an unexcused day.
Right.
Is it still an unexcused day, even though it's a federal holiday? Like, we're gonna need that answer.
That's a great question.
It wouldn't matter if it's a federal holiday, it's just like if we have
Just be an
school.
And it's
unexcused.
unexcused.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I didn't mean to say that.
I
No, that's a good question.
You both right.
And you would get that question.
I
before, so.
absolutely would get that question.
Yes.
My thoughts are very much like yours, Leslie. I think about families who may be stuck without childcare. I think this is short notice to try and figure this out.
So what I'm hearing from the direction of the discussion, I would ask for a motion to leave our,
What you wanna do is
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just would take no
to
action.
just take no action on it.
Yeah, unless somebody wants to make a motion to change the
Perfect.
calendar. So either somebody makes a motion to change the calendar
Or we
or
just take no
take
action.
no action.
Would anyone like to make a motion to change the calendar? Okay, all right, we'll take no action on this item. I'm gonna open a public participation section per our policy about that, and if we have anyone. That is, we don't have anyone here in person, but if anyone is joining us virtually that would like to participate. Please feel free to type into the chat, or as Cindy mentioned, raise your hand and we can bring you in to speak. And we just ask that you give your name and address at the beginning of your remarks so that they can be in the record, as we would do if you were here in person.
So the chat's open or you can raise your hand.
Watch, there'll be a big snowstorm when
Then it's all good.
That is
It's all good.
that is the way to. Mhm.
I think it's a tough discussion, you know,
It
because
is.
it's short notice and it's
Kids,
tough time of year to change a
It's
lot of
nice-
plans.
nice to have that extra vacation day, but it was not planned on.
And for like. You know, for staff and for curriculum and for, you know, people that. Even that I know, even that one day can. Set things back.
And it's not even just families, like parents who are paid hourly. I also think some of my physician friends have schedules that are set like 30 days in advance, like it's not, they don't have flexibility. It's a lot of people who don't have a lot of flexibility in there,
There's not an abundance of childcare available.
that's for sure.
All right, I don't see anything coming in, so we'll go ahead and close public participation. While we are here as a board, I wanted to let the other board members know that Mr. Campo got a tractor.
And it's not just that we got a tractor, it's when the tractor arrived.
Wait, Thursday?
Yes.
That is so awesome.
So
Wow.
I don't think we have any need for non-public
No.
tonight.
Mhm.
So we will, our next board meeting is, what is that, January 3rd?
January 3rd.
It is.
The 3rd, so January 3rd is our next board meeting. There is information coming out, it should be in your newsletter. And we'll try to get it posted some other places for anyone who is interested in volunteering for the superintendent search committee. And so look for just a little paragraph about what that entails and how to express interest in that. That should be coming out. And we'll get it posted in various places for folks to access that. So with all of that said, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion from Nancy and a second from Denise. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, 5:21. Adjourned. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you
you.
for a quick surprise meeting.
Boom, shakalaka.